made possible by the Massachusetts Cultural Council, the Melrose Cultural Council, the Melrose Messina Fund, the Melrose Rotary Club, the Passim Iguana Fund, the Filmmakers Collaborative, and by this church. Okay, so that's the work. I will say this at the end too, but after tonight, we're going to do something that we have not been doing, which is to send you a survey. We need to start to get feedback. It helps with our grant writing to hear how this show is affecting people and our series, so we'll be sending you that email very soon afterwards, and we would love for you to fill it out. Tonight, we have 3 truly incredible musicians, and I was here, got to hear them warm up, and it's going to be an even better show than I had hoped. Anand Nayak is an old friend of mine, and I mean very old. We're old people. And Anand has produced several albums for me and with me. He's been my musical touring partner for many years. I'm just in awe of all of his musical talents. He plays everything under the sun. You're only going to see a couple of those things tonight. So please welcome Anand Nayak. My second oldest friend, who I've known for 2 years, is Anju. Anju is part of the Passim Folk Collective with me. We started this project 2 years ago. A group of us were lucky enough to be part of the inaugural crew. It's a diverse group that is challenging what folk music looks and sounds like here in the Boston community through historic Club Passim. It's been an incredible thing to be part of. Our last show in the series was here at the church with members of the Folk Collective for MLK Day. Anju was not able to be at that show, but I wanted you to be able to meet them in person. So everybody, please welcome Anju. And my newest friend of all time, who I met tonight, but who I've been sharing emails with and already am pretty in love with his sense of humor. He goes by Bunty. His professional stage name is Michael Dwan Singh. Michael is part of a group called the Shadow Notes. He helped create and runs a group called, an organization called Subdrift, which is an open mic for South Asian related music and performers, which is in Cambridge. And I'll ask him more about that later tonight. Please welcome Michael Dwan Singh. Thank you, guys. So we're gonna have about 45 minutes of music. This is our format, and then we're gonna clear out these chairs and we're gonna sit and we're gonna have a little bit of a conversation. And then we're gonna pass the mic around and take a few questions from the room. Does that all sound okay? All right, here we go. Welcome to Desi Roots, Boston Branches.
Thank you, Alistair. I feel like there are a couple of things worth noting before we start. One is that other than a brief time at a party a couple of months ago and a couple of online meetings, today is the first time that the 3 of us have actually sat down and played music together. So. Also worth mentioning is that my thumbnail is broken and I superglued it right before the show, so we'll see if that holds. And the last thing is that there's this video screen right here that's showing us ourselves, but with like a 1.5 second delay, and it's really distracting. So if you see me avoiding looking at something, it's that. It's not my dad or any of you people. So we're going to start with a song of mine that I actually wrote after the partial eclipse back in 2017. This was before I ever got to experience the full thing, which I was lucky enough to do last month. But this is called Eclipse. You guys ready? Yeah. All right. feel like a man at the foot of a mountain with nothing but a song. Looking up and feeling low, wondering where I might belong. Light combs through the oak and rose of Sharon, and shadows play. And I feel like a man at the foot of a mountain with just one thing to say. The birds are in their nest by the door, playthings scattered upon the floor. A shadow grows across the sun, and I feel like a man at the foot of a mountain. Your feet down on the earth and let your roots down deep. Time goes slow, but before you know, there's a mountain high and steep. Year upon year, the wear and tear of water, fire, and wind shapes your face and tries to erase what it was when you began. The birds are in their nest by the door, playthings scattered upon the floor. A shadow grows across the sun, and I feel like a man at the foot of a mountain. Hold your hand above your head and cover up the sun. Close your eyes and dream away your life until it's done. Swing your partner round and round, spiral into space. Light and shadow dance across her face. Walking through this world of woe, we suffer and we scream. Grown up high or brought down low, nobody can escape. Listening and answering to gravity's endless call. Hey, let's stay here at our place and watch the darkness fall. The birds are in their nest by the door, playthings scattered upon the floor. A shadow grows across the sun, and I feel like a man at the foot of a mountain. Thank you. Quick update, the nail is not holding, and now I have super glue on my strings.
Oh.
But it's all fine.
Not all heroes wear capes, is what they say. Um, what a fun day this has been. I really didn't know. I woke up and I was like, well, we'll see what happens today. And then I'm feeling really good about it. It's been so fun to play with these two, and I feel so uplifted. I feel like everything that I have to share that I'm going to share with you tonight, they just make it sound so much dreamier and more special. So thank you, Bunty and Anand, and thank you, Alistair and Stacy, and it's an honor. I'm going to share a song called Late November. I think it comes from a dreamy place. So I hope you'll come there with us as I share this song.
Hey everybody, thanks for coming out tonight. I'm Bunty. Anju, such a pleasure. Beautiful. And Anand. This has been a real pleasure to play with these folks today. Like the rest of them, we kind of came out here not really knowing what was going to happen today, and we met a little earlier and played together and really just had a great vibe with each other. So thank you all for coming out and sharing that with us. It's really our pleasure to be here with you all tonight. I'm going to slightly shift gears right now. I'm going to play a folk song, it's also folk music, but this is from the northern part of India in a place called Rajasthan. And this is what we call, it's like a Rajasthani love song. Also like these two, I was born in the US, so my pronunciation, especially of Rajasthani, may not be the best, or Braj, the language that this is in. So bear with me, but this is an instrument that oftentimes is associated with Rajasthan, called the sarangi. This is my instrument. And these are kind of the songs that we oftentimes sing when we play. So this is a Rajasthani love song. And yeah, it's got like 37 strings, and they seem to be going out of tune, so just give me a sec. I swear, he was so well behaved earlier.
Does your sarangi have a name?
You know, I've only had this one for 2 years now, and I haven't yet formed enough of a bond to get a
Okay.
name.
Okay.
Do you have any suggestions, Anju?
I don't know. Any audience suggestions?
We'll be passing out a survey after the show. If people have
That will be
suggestions, we
included
can
in the
just-
survey that Alistair sends out.
All right. So oftentimes in music from South Asia, we'll take a few words and we'll just sing those words for minutes, sometimes hours, just 2 words. I'm not gonna do it for hours, I don't wanna put you all to sleep. But this is a very short love song, the words, but basically it's talking about how my eyes are thirsting for my beloved. Nena more, nena more, nena more, nena more. तरस गए बालमा nena more, nena more, nena more, nena more, तरस गए बालमा. Nena more, nena more, nena more. तरस गए बालमा तरस गए बालमा
All right. Oh, I think these pages are super glued together too. Super glue will be everywhere by the end of the night. So I'm gonna try out a kind of a new song for me, which I wrote after going to my first ever meditation retreat. Has anybody ever gone on a meditation retreat or explored meditation at all? This is kind of a it's kind of like a song full of bumper stickers for meditation. Where it's like the newbies, like, oh my goodness, have you guys heard about this thing? But yeah, it's called Let Yourself Be. And we're going to try it with some drums. Right? Okay. And some sound. Don't just do something. Sit there, let yourself be. Nowhere to go other than right here. Set yourself free. I know it's so hard having to let go when it's over. Every thought feels like it's got you reeling. Now that you're sober, I know the past ain't gonna change. This is a chance to rearrange with all the love you know how to give. Let yourself be here right now. Fascination plays on you like a vulture circling low. FOMO, it's no joke, it's deep in the culture. Everyone knows. Pushing, rushing, wishing on what might have been. Holding, having, craving, crashing, cashing it in. What's in the past ain't gonna change. This is a chance to rearrange with all the love that you can bestow. Let yourself be here right now. Wish I could say it's gonna be easy, but it's never easy making a change. Every all of that time and all of that pleasing, we all have our reason. Isn't it strange? Every choice to look away just adds to the strain until you're flying off the rails. But can you quiet down just for 1 minute? Let yourself breathe. Every part of your mind and your heart, sit yourself in it. Try not to leave. Whatever comes up, whether it fills your cup or burns you down, find that kindness deep inside. You know it's all around. Then all the harm you've dealt and received, all those illusions you chose to leave, all of the lies you tried to live, you'll never forget, but you can forgive if you let yourself be here right now. 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 Let yourself be. Thank you.
That's Anand Nayak, everyone. And we heard Bunty sing. I love getting to play with you both. I'm going to share a song called By Heart. It's a newer song for me, and it's inspired by grief. And the few occasions for me when grief has felt like something I can accept and something that I can, that's almost generative. So I hope you can bring that in as you listen. I think of a mirror in reflecting. I see me loving you. In your woven braid, I see my own figure. Come now, fold your blade. Waves are cutting quicker. Go be who you ought to be without me. Clouds part. I'll recall the shape of you by heart. When I think of my love glowing orangely, feels like sun. In my golden wake, rocks and sand still warm. Though you're gone, it aches. See this space that's born. Be who you ought to be without me. Clouds part. I'll recall the shape of you by heart.
That's beautiful, Anju.
Thank you.
So the last piece for me, this is another folk song. This is actually in Punjabi, which is where my ancestors come from. This is a Sufi song from the 17th century. It's, I guess, our adaptation of it. Because basically we were in the studio earlier today, and I was like, I wasn't sure what it would sound like because I've never played with guitar, and then Anand started doing this like beautiful arpeggio, and I was like, this actually sounds like American folk music, but it's not. But it's also South Asian. So I don't know. It's a really cool. I don't know. I'm really inspired by the sound of it. And the lovely Anju will be singing with me as well. She's also Punjabi.
It's Punjabi.
ਦਰਦ ਵਿਛੋੜਦਾ ਹਾਲ ਨੀ ਓ ਮਾਏ ਨੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਨੂੰ ਆਖਾਂ ਓ ਮਾਏ ਨੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਨੂੰ ਆਖਾਂ Quando mere मुर्शिद वाला धुआं दुखे मेरे मुर्शिद वाला जान फुला तानानी Oh, my making ਦਰਦ ਵਿਛੋੜਦਾ ਹਾਲ ਨੀ ਓ ਮਾਏ ਨੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਨੂੰ ਆਖਾਂ ਓ ਮਾਏ ਨੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਨੂੰ ਦੁੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਰੋਟੀ Sulanda salana Dukhandi roti Sulanda salana Anda balani Maeni mekinu akhan Dard vichhode da haal nahi Oh maeni mekinu akhan Oh maeni mekinu akhan Thank you.
Thank you, Bunty. What an incredible sound you can get out of that thing. It's really just beautiful. We sent some recordings to each other a little while back, and I actually thought, I was like, I wonder what that's going to sound like without reverb. And then today I realized that there is no reverb on that instrument. It doesn't need any. So, all right, so back to me. I'm going to do a song. I'm going to do that Pale Moon song, I think. I hadn't planned on doing this song, but then when we were playing earlier today, it just seemed like it would work well with these guys. So this is an older song of mine. And it's kind of a American blues style song called Pale Moon. Pale moon on the treetop, won't you spare some light for me? I'm lost in your forest, and it's getting hard to see, and I can hardly see. And every breath is a decision over which I have no power. And every step just brings me closer to that everlasting hour. I was born to be a dreamer, go searching for my soul, stolen by the pale, pale moon. So many years ago, so many years ago. I don't want no one's assistance. I don't need no helping hand. All I want is a companion who'll show me what she can. Who'll show me what she can. And every breath is a decision over which I have no power. And every breath is bringing me closer to that everlasting hour. Well, some people are born to wander, let their souls go free, up where the sun is shining, upon a tranquil sea. I was born to be a dreamer, go searching for my soul, stolen by the pale, pale moon. So many years ago, so many years ago. Thank you. What is that drum called, Bunty? That's
Oh, it's called a dolak.
a dolak.
Yeah.
While I'm tuning, can you tell them about the instrument that I was playing that is
Oh,
your
this?
instrument? Yeah,
Yeah.
The percussive instrument?
Yeah, this is called the chimta. It's oftentimes played like in folk music and for religious occasions, but you can really, it's actually quite versatile. It's based off of like a kitchen tong, like so when people would like take bread out of the oven, they noticed that it had this very rhythmic quality to it, and they start singing, and then before you know it becomes this rhythm. You do all kinds of stuff with it. But, the problem is the frequency is so high, you can hear it like a mile away. But if you start playing with the band, and everyone gets used to it, if you stop playing, everybody notices it drops out. So you have to, once you start playing, you can't stop. So if the band's playing for 2 hours, you're in big trouble.
Oh. Okay. This is the part that I always get the most nervous for. I'm just gonna have take one extra moment to tune.
Should we tell a joke?
Yes,
Yeah.
please tell jokes. As many jokes.
I got a great joke.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a well-established fact, too, that when someone's tuning, they can't hear what anybody else is saying about them, so.
So this is probably one of the best jokes you may ever hear in your entire life. So this person loses their job, looking for work. So they go to Wellesley, Massachusetts, very wealthy neighborhood, and they're walking around and they're going door to door just to ask if there are any odd jobs that they can do. So this one woman answers the door, and this guy says, "Oh, is there anything I can do to help around the house?" And she says, "Oh yeah, we just got a new porch. Could you paint it? It's this sort of eggshell color, kind of yellow."
Oh no.
And he says, "Of course."
I know this joke. Okay.
And shh.
You're not
And
supposed to be listening.
so he goes, he says, "Yeah, no problem." So he takes the paint, he goes in the backyard. He comes back in 20 minutes, knocks on the door again. The woman opens the door. She says, "Yes." He says, "I finished." She said, "You've already finished?" He's like, "Yeah, it's all painted, except it's not a Porsche, it's a Ferrari." Takes a few seconds to set in, I know.
Thank you, Bunty.
This is my stock Anju's tuning joke.
All right, thank you. I'm always so happy to play, and then when it comes to, I love using alternate tunings, like outside of guitar standard tunings, because I feel like it makes me, I don't know, more creative with the chords that I create, because I don't know what they're called or what's going on. But then there's the flip side of that when I have to show up to actually play. Yeah, this is a song called Dragonfly, and it's inspired by this feeling of unbelonging that I've felt across different moments and times and spaces in my life, and how even, especially as an adult and as a child too, I suppose, especially amidst those moments of unbelonging, I can always turn to the natural world, lakes, rivers, creeks, and I can always find a sense of belonging there. So this is with much love to the natural world. Okay. Okay. I really got to shout out Bunty and Anand for for going with me on these tuning journeys, and you. So okay, here we go. Here's the song for real.
You're great.
When did everything get so white? How pales the sky? When did everything get so warm? All I know is I bided my time by the waterways. The rest is a bedtime too. Sang myself to sleep on the hardest days, dreaming the seeds to Dragonfly, warmest night, summer snow, she falls, spinning wheels full of light, cottonwood, she calls. Maybe it's like a spiral. Maybe it's like a siren. Maybe there's no one meaning. Doesn't mean I'll stop trying. Maybe I'm like an earthworm. Maybe I'm like a snake skin. Shedding my tears at sundown. Wait for a new day rising. But it's been so long since I had someone to call my own, call my own. Winter without mirrors did me wrong. Just last night, the lapping lake called me home, but it's been so long since I felt like I belong. Dragonfly, warmest night, summer snow, she falls, spinning wheels full of light, cottonwood, she calls. feel like these two just took my song and took it to the next level. We were flying in the sky together.
That is a
Thank
great
you.
song.
Beautiful.
It's a really great song.
Prolific writing too. Lyrics are just like really special and
Thank you, buddy.
And I'm playing with like a bum nail.
I know.
Really,
I'm
really. I mean, it sounds no different than
still-
before.
yeah.
True chant.
I was using a pick that time.
Still.
All right, I believe this is my last song I'm going to do tonight. Are we doing all right in time? So this song is kind of a song about migration. And I didn't realize it when I was writing it, but you know how you end up just kind of writing about yourself, whether or not you intend to. I thought this was a song about how the guitar came to Hawaii. And it kind of is. I guess it can be both. It's called So Far From Home. And it goes like this. I should say there's a part at the end that will be a little bit of a call and response. And if you want to sing with Anju, she'll be doing the response. I don't know what I'll find when I reach the other side of this ocean. My fate is tied to a line sinking into the blue. There's no country for me but the promise of love and devotion. So far from home, must I leave my love and go alone? Well, I was born somewhere, I didn't stay there long. All I have is a taste of the air of the place in my mind. I was born on the wind, like a seed, like a note in a song. So far from home, the wind can leave you dry as bone. So far I have been willing to go, no looking behind. I don't know what I'll find. Well, some people say paradise is waiting out there for us. Yes, and some people steer by the stars across the sea. I say if we are blessed, we will rest in the arms that care for us. So far from home to learn what it is I've always known. I'm so far, so far.
So far, so far.
I'm so so far, I'm so far from home.
So far, so far.
I'm so far, I'm so far from home.
So far, so far.
I'm so far, I'm so far from home. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, I can't believe that was inspired by a ukulele.
The guitar.
The
actually,
guitar.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good story,
Making its
but
way.
I didn't want to take the time to tell it.
Okay.
Because we're on a tight timetable right here.
Yeah, it's so profound. It's about. I feel like that's about me.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah. I want to shout out the kids that are here today. I just simply love that this is an intergenerational space. So thank you for being here, front row kids. I'm very honored to play for you, most of all. And I also, I want to thank Alistair and Stacy for making such a sweet series and cozy place for us to play. I suppose this is our last musical contribution of the night, but we will keep the good vibes going. I am going to share a song that is really an ode to my childhood and my family. I think shout out to my parents and I think my grandfather that are watching the live stream. They are so much a part of what this song is. So very excited to share it. We might have time for the guitar story if you.
All right, yeah. So in the early 1800s, sometime right around the year 1800, there was an English sea captain who, in the way of English sea captains, decided that he would leave a herd of longhorn cattle on one of the Hawaiian islands. I'm not sure how much say the Hawaiians had in this, but it happened. And after a few years, the cattle were running rampant because nobody there knew how to handle cattle. This was a new thing. So they sent an emissary to Mexico to get some ranchers to come and teach them how to deal with this problem. And that's what happened. Some ranchers came 2,400 miles out into the ocean with a bunch of people whose language they didn't speak and taught them how to ranch, stayed for 3 years. And of course, they had brought guitars with them and would sit around and sing songs together in the evenings. And when they went back home, they left the guitars behind, and that's how the guitar came to the Hawaiian Islands. And as you may know, there's an incredible guitar music that then developed in Hawaii, which is really, it's pretty unique and incredibly beautiful. But that story really grabbed me, just the idea of that being on that boat. I wasn't sure if it was coming or going.
Thanks, Anand. Thanks, Bunty. The song is called Jasmine.
That's Anand, Anju, and Bunty.
Tea time.
Okay, we're going to move a little bit of furniture around. We're not taking a break, but I encourage everybody in this room, if you are willing and able, as they say here, to stand up and stretch your bodies out. I should have told you at the beginning there are bathrooms down this way, so if you need those. I also didn't tell you that there is chai tea and cookies available. Thanks to the church. As soon as we're done here talking, all right. All right, are you all stretched out? Okay. Do you want to, we can pull these right out and we can just move the stands? Oh, is it attached? Yeah, okay. All right, well, maybe not then. Well, I don't need to ask you if you enjoyed that. That was clear. My first question is actually for all of you. Those of you who came tonight who didn't know any of these musicians beforehand, I want your best honest answer. How many people found themselves surprised at some points during the evening with the sounds that they heard? Yeah. Including these guys. So we've talked about this, and I'm going to start with Anand, who I've known longest. You and I have talked about this a little bit. As somebody who has spent their career in the folk Americana world, whatever that means, you expressed to me once, after many years of, we didn't talk about this, of how it feels being Indian American, being mixed race, having an Indian name in those spaces. Can you talk a little bit about that and the expectations that come with it? I thought I'd start off with an easy one.
Yeah, that's a softball. Well, I mean, to begin with, I've been extraordinarily fortunate and lucky to be able to play music for as long as I have. I've found incredible people to work with who've been most welcoming and wonderful to me. And as I was kind of saying before, it's one of the areas in which I have sometimes felt like I'm, on the outside looking in. I also, I think one thing I told you when we were talking about this before is the slow sort of dawning realization that the most often, or the most frequent question that I would get after a show would be about my name. And, oh, where is your name? Where are you from? Where does it come from? And there would be, and often, it would be someone who would be looking for an excuse to talk about India. And that was wonderful. And it also, at times, felt like okay, this is who I am in this context, is someone unusual with an exotic name, and that becomes a point of interest, which I feel like it's one of those things that can kind of affect you differently depending on what you're struggling with, but it's been present. There's another interesting factor, which is that there's a lot of sort of discussion and debate about authenticity in folk music in particular. Who gets to sing what songs from which tradition, and I often find myself completely not present in that debate at all, because I can lay claim to a lot of different things and sometimes seemingly nothing at all. So it's been interesting to see that, because that's something that's really developed in the, while I've been active in music much more than it ever was before. I think that's my answer.
That's a good answer. Thank you. Anju, you are newer to the professional world of folk music, but you are also, I don't know how you define yourself, but you certainly get classed in with singer-songwriter, folk. Do you have feelings on that you can amplify?
I think I guess I've always called myself a singer-songwriter and I would say I make folk pop until the folk collective. I think until this folk collective, and I guess I don't really know how I feel about genres anymore, to be honest. I think I've heard some people saying like genre fluid, and I'm like, I identify with that. It's like, let's pull from everything. And also, like, I think I've heard you talk about this before, Alistair, like how genres are set up by the industry, by the music industry to like put us in very specific segregated lanes, I guess. So I'm like, do I want to call myself one of those, or do I want to just pick a little bit of everything? Yeah, so right now I'm in a blend it all up moment. Yeah.
Well, the context, we've talked about it in the folk collective mostly, and this speaks to your point on it, is the black and white dynamic. And the black folk music and white folk music were segregated by record companies at the very beginning of the recording process. They were called race records and hillbilly records. And we can sort of trace the racial history of American segregated music to that point, although you can keep going a lot deeper. But I think, as you said, Anand, the question of Latino American music and Asian American music and a million other things aren't even part of that conversation. And certainly in our series here, we have been laser focused on issues of black and white. I think for good reason. I think that the American story and that particular dynamic is so sharp that there's a reason why it requires a special level of focus. But as Stacey and I have thought about how we curate this program and think about how to move it forward, this was an important new evening for us, and I couldn't think of 3 better people to help us do it. Michael, you don't spend time in folk music or in the same circles maybe as the 3 of us, but you came. I'm really interested if you could share a little bit about how you came to Indian classical and Indian folk, because it's not where you started either.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. So yeah, I guess I also grew up here. I was born south of Boston, and yeah, I guess for me, I grew up playing, like a lot of kids, grew up playing Western classical music. But since I was a young age, I always wanted to play South Asian music. And then eventually started playing tabla, which is, for those who don't know, it's like 2 drums that you play with largely with your fingers and your palms. And I played that for a while. Yeah, I don't know. I think part of I think sort of to what Anand was saying is like this question of like, who are you and where do you belong? I think a lot of kids have to think about that in the U.S., especially growing up, depending on where you are. If there's not a lot of people around you who are South Asian, you want to, or part of your identity. So that was a big part of like, why I wanted to seek out this music. And like when I grew up, this music was like very much like not cool. Like you're pretty square to be doing this kind of thing, but I was just very obsessed with it. Our folk music, even our popular music, electronic music. I'm not a big Bollywood fan, but people still let me in the room, so it's okay, I guess. But But yeah, I mean, that's just been sort of a part of my identity as a South Asian has been sort of through music, and reclaiming my heritage is through like what my ancestors were singing and that kind of thing. And you know, I feel like our folk music is very much sort of like congruent across like multiple countries and traditions.
Well, you guys explored that so well tonight, that mix of American and Indian heritage, and which reflects the makeup of the trio as well, right? We were talking before, there's a great album, or a really interesting album that Taj Mahal, one of my blues heroes, made in '95, and he recorded and really kind of jammed with two classical Indian musicians on a mix of blues and Indian folk, and some of what especially Anand you were doing tonight really had that feeling with the sarenge. It's powerful. You said something, Bunty, when we first put this together. We wanted, first of all, I think we can probably all agree these heritage months are absolute nonsense, but they also serve a purpose of being a reminder, right? So we don't celebrate Black history in February, but if people need to be reminded, or if it helps us get people into the room, we'll take it, right? But I did some studying about Asian American heritage, and specifically AAPI month, that I wanted to share a little bit because I think it's interesting and important. But Bunty, you said that growing up, when you heard AAPI month, you have always associated it with East Asian, or that's always how it seems to be presented, much less South Asian. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I think it's just demographic. Like, I think if you go to London right now, if you say Asian, they think about Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, because that's the majority of Asian people there. But here in Boston, like especially growing up, there weren't as many South Asians. I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s. I think it was, our neighborhood was largely Irish, Lebanese, and Chinese. So Asian always meant China, like usually from China or descended from Chinese folk. Japanese, any sort of the East Asian countries. South Asia usually wasn't, and even in up to high school, even into college, when one said Asian, one would think of like you know the eastern part of Asia, but South Asia usually wasn't part of that. I think that's probably, I don't think it's like any purposeful like
Right.
rejection. It just happened to be who is here.
Yeah.
But I think it's changing now because we have more South Asians coming, and from other parts of Asia coming to the U.S.
Right.
And especially this East Coast.
How much did any of you learn about South Asian history in school? Anything at all, other than the name Gandhi? Did it come up?
No.
Yes.
Yeah, not much. But I will say I've done a lot of learning as an adult, and I think there's actually a lot in common in terms of like power dynamics and like hierarchies between the U.S. and India, and even India's current president is like very much Trump energy, nationalist, fascist vibes, and I don't know, just learning about like the caste system and like all those things. I think so much of that can be, there's so much overlay between that and racial dynamics in the U.S. and yeah, I don't know, Alistair, when you were talking about like the black versus, or like the black and white conversation around race in America and like where do we fit into that, I think, I don't really know the answer to that, but I also think when I situate myself in America, I'm also thinking about like how this is like indigenous land, and how even though I'm not white and like we weren't necessarily like settlers here, I'm still like participating in like the colonial project that is America. So I don't know, I think that's one thing I think a lot about in those, when I think about black and white and Asian and all those things. I'm like, just, yeah, I hope that makes these are things that I'm thinking about when you say these words.
Well, there are distinct categories. This series is exploring race and the impact of race on all of us, very much including white people, and what it's done to our psyches, intergenerational trauma, self-imposed, of separating ourselves from the world. There are very different categories though, right? I mean, Black Americans, Native Americans, and there's a separate story, but Latino Americans, it's a story of deep oppression. There's a weird reverse oppression that often gets put on Asian Americans, which is this whole BS model minority pressure, which talking to friends through the years, I hear this other side of that, like the expectations that come with that. Do you want to talk about that at all, Anna? Did you feel it growing up as a biracial
The fact
kid?
that I'm not a Google engineer? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know. It's hard to say if I really directly experienced that. I definitely have had like an internal kind of, I don't know, awareness of sort of conversation with myself about where I'd fit into that particular mold. And I feel like it's been present, you know, in my sort of as a pressure, say, around the decisions that I make about, you know, about life and career and all of that. But yeah, I think I was always had my head high enough in the clouds to not necessarily be aware if that pressure was being applied directly to me. So yeah, I don't know if either of you have contended with that, just in terms of like making a, you know, non-traditional career choices or sort of thinking about yourself like in terms of correctness or whatnot. But it's funny, you know, talking about this. I'm realizing that that internal dialogue about it is one way that the pressure seeps in. You know, when about all of these things, I think we all look for ways to try to plug ourselves in to the landscape, the social fabric, the cultural matrix, whatever you want to call it. And that's a struggle for everybody, no matter who you are. But when you're a person of color or a person with sort of different heritage, a different name, I think that that can carry a whole extra set of things to be kind of hyper-conscious of, you know, like how close you're treading to the rules, how much you're standing out. So, and you know, when I think about it, I think that has been actually fairly present for me my whole life, for better or for worse.
You guys want to weigh in?
Like, I guess I don't know a ton about the history of the model, like of this like myth of the model minority, but from what I understand, like it's a way to kind of, it's like constructed as a way to kind of portray Asian Americans as like this good kind of immigrant or like this good kind of person of color with like proximity to whiteness. And I don't know, to kind of like, when I think about the concept of my model minority, I feel like it like destabilizes all of the solidarity that could happen between, among people of color, especially among Asian American and Black American people. So I don't know, I guess when I think about the model minority concept, that's what I think about. Like, from what I understand, I think it's like kind of this thing that the US government very like kind of almost like orchestrated. And now it impacts us in like the ways that Anand, you're talking about. And then it's also impacting like structurally, it seems like kind of, yeah, this like pitting against of like, yeah, this kind of like framing of like what is a good immigrant and like what does it mean to like contribute to America, and the whole bootstrap, like pull yourself up by the bootstraps thing, when in reality there's so many like, yeah, just like barriers to economic wellness in the United States. So I don't know, I think when I think about the model minority myth, I'm like, yes, that impacts me, I think, but I think the way that I want to be thinking about it is like, how can I remind myself that this is like a constructed thing so that I can push back against it, or I don't know, build something different and focus on how I can be in solidarity with other people of color.
Yeah. You know, one of the other things I think the model minority myth does is it masks the very real history of oppression of Asian Americans in this country. And in reading a little bit about AAPI month and how it came about and why it was officially instituted, it was 1990 is when it was passed by Congress, officially acknowledged. And it was to celebrate Asian American heritage, but it was also to acknowledge this history in America. The 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act is the first and most singular American Immigration Act targeting a specific ethnicity. A decision by white Americans that too many Chinese laborers had come over. Building the railroads apparently wasn't enough, so now we don't want you to come anymore. And then in 1941, and I learned about this in middle school, of course I'd never heard about this before, the Japanese internment camps here in America, the intergenerational trauma of that, American citizens being put in jail based on their shade of skin color and the shape of their eyes. I didn't know until recently about Vincent Chin, who was murdered in 1982, and that was the first. It was the first Asian American victim prosecuted under a federal hate crime law. It's sort of amazing to think it didn't happen until 1982, and this was during a period of time when American auto workers, the auto worker industry was going downhill, and the Japanese auto industry was coming up, and there was a perception among American auto workers that Japanese were taking their jobs. And a Chinese man, mistaken for a Japanese man, was murdered in the Midwest in an auto town, and it led to this first prosecution of a federal hate law. But we hear about it right here in our modern times, right? Our previous president made good use of Asian American stereotypes, blaming an entire pandemic on a group of people, playing fun games with Kung Flu. This very real, the opposite of model minority is still completely with us now. And I think too about those mistaken identities after 9/11, when Sikh Americans were beat up because they were mistaken for Arab Americans, for Muslims. And it's one of those hate crimes that makes you go, you got the wrong person, but every step of what got you there is so poisonous, you know? Like, it doesn't matter that you beat up the wrong person. The one you were trying to beat up is no better. So I think, but I definitely feel as a white American, like this is a history that is much more silent to me, and in my upbringing, I'm much more aware of the history of racial oppression with Black Americans, with Native Americans. So this feels important. This is a conversation that we should be having. I want to shut up and ask you all, this has been a long show, but it's been a great show. And if we could take a couple of questions, If you have specific questions for our artists, I would love to pass it around. Stacy, will you come help? All right, if you have a question, raise your hand up. Okay, great. We don't have to try.
This is more of a comment. I saw the Folk Collective concert a couple weeks ago at Club Passim, and Anju, I had never seen a South Asian folk singer before, and it really blew, like it just impacted me, and so I came home, and these girls are third graders, and really into music, and we've been listening to you on Spotify, and when I saw you were playing here, I was like, I just really want them to see that, like grow up with that, because I also grew up in the 80s and 90s in the Midwest, like it just, representation, it just can't be underestimated, so I just wanted to thank you, and I really appreciate the conversation and about who is folk music for and all of that, so that's all, thank you. And they have a bedtime, so I need to go, and I'm sorry to like walk out.
Thank you so much. I feel like I can be happy for the rest of my life knowing that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I just had a musical question for Anju, because your music was so beautiful and melodic and didn't sound too different than the folk music I'm used to listening to. I just wondered who some of your influences have been in American folk or any pop, any genre.
Yeah, thank you for that. I grew up listening to a lot of Joni Mitchell. That was, yeah, my dad put me onto Joni Mitchell. And I remember him saying, I remember him showing me that she does her own album artwork, and I thought that was really cool. And then I also remember him saying, like, oh, notice how she paints a picture, like, she paints the picture for her album artwork, but notice how she paints a picture, like, with her words. So I think, like, lyrically and with the funky tunings and all of that, I feel like Joni's a big person for me. I love Simon and Garfunkel. Those are the things that I grew up listening to. And now I really love Adrienne Lenker. I think she's such an amazing songwriter. Adrienne Lenker. Adrienne, like Adrienne, Annelenker.
Take maybe two more.
I wanted to thank the three of you for coming tonight. I was struck hearing that you had not played together before this morning. And it occurs to me that as folks in a creative field, you've each kind of developed your own identity as musicians. And yet there's a certain skill that goes into collaborating together as you have tonight, and particularly for the first day that you guys have played together. And it strikes me that there's kind of a lesson we could learn from creative folks like yourselves who are in this kind of a dialogue, a give and take with each other around your own individual musical identities, and then the way that you have played together tonight. And I was just wondering if you could comment on your process of how you approached this collaboration.
Well, thank you, first of all. Really appreciate the comment. I just personally have always really loved getting together with musicians for the first time. And all the better if it's happening in front of an audience, because I find that there's a really special kind of excitement, openness, listening, and a lot of it kind of has to do with the blank slate. You know, it's like it's a space that's relatively free of preconception and expectation. There's, of course, something that goes along with that, which is a bit of a leap of faith that, you know, that it's going to work. But also the excitement of knowing that it might not. And, you know, and so I find that, you know, that doing a spontaneous collaboration has always been really, really gratifying, just because of the kind of energy that it produces. Which isn't to say that long-time collaborations are bad. You know, that's a whole different thing. But it's always been something that I've really loved. And I guess I feel like it brings out in me some of those qualities that I love about music. So yeah, what do you think?
Well, I'm relatively new to collaboration, and I think it's really the folk collective that opened me up to it. I think for a long time, music and songwriting specifically, has been a very insular process for me, because it's kind of felt like my sanctuary and like my safe place, and I was kind of maybe not ready, I think, to like open myself up to bringing other people into that. But I think since I have, it's been like so special, and I think like getting to meet people like you, like Bunty, you're the first person that I ever played on a stage with recently, and I don't know, this is like a new thing for me, and like I feel really like seen and heard by these two, like in a really special way. Like I feel like it really scratches a very specific itch when someone can like hear something that you've made and make it more what it is by bringing their like really good ears and skills to it. So I think I'm just really hyped to be here and really honored to be playing with you two. And I think I'm also growing as a collaborator. I was telling them like, oh, I feel okay to play my own songs, but I'm like a little nervous for how I'm going to be contributing to yours. So I'm looking forward to growing as a contributor and as a collaborator. So this was a good experience and experiment. Thanks for bringing us together.
Well, I'll just add, Anju and I have been performing together for the last couple of years as part of this group. Did anyone else from the folk collective? I saw Naomi, and I think she left. And I wanted to present, I think Anju's super talented, and I wanted to present their stuff tonight. But Anand is one of the people in my life who I think of as he's like a glue boy. If you bring Anand into a mix, he will make the mix better. And sometimes he even puts glue on himself just to bring the point home. And Bunty, I only learned of through Anju, and I'm so glad you suggested him. But I'm just blown away by your big ears. So I think I suggested tonight. I feel like this is a new band, and I feel like I should probably get 50% of their major royalties going forward.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah. I think we had one last one over here, maybe. Okay, great.
Thank you. This was a great performance. We truly loved it. This is our first time coming out, and so we're very fortunate to hear the three of you sing. I had a question for Michael, and the sarangi, that was like, it was music to the ears, really. Can you just talk about it sounded very complicated. Can you just talk about how do you go about learning an instrument like that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm not used to being on like a panel. Oh, it's in the other room. Basically, I mean, so it's not a very common instrument, as you may know, in India or Pakistan, and definitely not in the US. I wanted to play since I was a kid, and so I found a teacher on Skype. And basically, I think if you want to learn, I mean, are you a musician? Oh, okay. So if you're someone that wants to learn it, I think it helps to have some background in music. First off, it's fretless, so it's unlike a guitar. There are no stops. You don't know where to put your finger to make the note, so you have to always be listening. And everything has to be in tune. And then this instrument, we actually play, the string goes above our cuticles. So it goes here. So it's quite painful the first year, and a bit messy. And then I think then it just really becomes sort of, you have to just sing a lot because it's basically a vocal instrument. Sarangi was the most common instrument in the subcontinent of India until the British. And there's a whole history there. It got replaced with a harmonium and blah, blah, blah. But because it fell out of favor, it's not played as often. So it's hard to find a teacher, and a good teacher, and someone who is patient with you. So all these things. But if you can get past all that, then it's just about getting the music sort of in your blood and in your mind and your body. And then once you have that, you can kind of feel the way the songs move as you play. That's kind of what I try to do. And that's a good skill because then I can meet Anju or Anand, who are incredible musicians and writers. And when they sing their song, I mean, their songs are so well crafted that I can feel it the same way I feel our Desi music. It's very incredible. So, hope that answers the question.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Nothing to it. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. Please have some chai tea and cookies afterwards. Please make sure you sign our mailing list. If you would like to donate for tonight, we would appreciate it. It helps us pay our musicians at a fair market rate. And finally, there is a survey. I think maybe Stacey already sent it out. She's so on top of things. So please do fill that out. We really do want your feedback on this show and on the series. Thank you to Anand, Anju, and Bunty, and thank you all for coming out tonight.
And thank you, Alistair and Stacey.
Thanks, Alistair.
And thanks to all of you.
Thank you so much.